Thank you for joining us for the Advancing Oceanside podcast, brought to you by the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. The Advancing Oceanside podcast hosts business and community leaders from all industries to help inform, better educate, and ultimately advocate for a prosperous economic climate here in Oceanside. Welcome back to another episode of the Advancing Oceanside podcast, and happy Earth Day. Today we continue with our sustainability series with Stellar Solar. We are excited to have David Boylan, VP of Marketing. Stellar Solar has been in business for over 20 years and has earned their reputation as a top solar provider in San Diego County. Our interview covers everything you need to know about the solar industry and why homeowners and businesses should consider switching. But most importantly, David discusses the environmental impacts of the solar switch and how this transition is powering the future. And now, here to electrify your life, special guest, David Boylan. Welcome, David. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're happy to have you. You fit in perfectly with our sustainability series to kind of discuss solar energy with us. So before we get into that and what you do with Stellar Solar, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the solar industry and why with Stellar Solar?
Sure. It's been about 15 years now, which has kind of flown by. I've always been in marketing, corporate side, agency side. I had my own agency 15 years ago that we were working with home builders, and then we kind of segued that into solar clients. And actually, Stellar was an early client. We just did a little bit of work for them. And then we branched out. We did work for solar companies in New York, New Jersey, Michigan, Ohio, and back to California. 10 years ago, I reconnected with Stellar, who was a kind of a virtual company. Everybody was, doing home offices, kind of like we are now. I connected with Ken Harley, who's the CEO. They had a little office in Encinitas. I'm like, why don't we take advantage of this? Mm-hmm. So I stepped in and in a marketing capacity with them, and I just saw the potential with this company and the industry here in San Diego. So we quickly outgrew that space, which was a bummer because it was right on Moonlight Beach. But it was made for 4 people, and we quickly had about 15 in there. So we moved up to Carlsbad and quickly outgrew that. Mm-hmm. And our warehouse has always been in Oceanside. And we decided, okay, why don't we just combine an office and the warehouse? So we built that out, and that's where we've been, 5 or 6 years now. And it's perfect because all of our solar panels are there. We've got, all of our teams are there as well. Half virtual, half not right now, but right. We've got 100 plus employees. So, and my current role is vice president of marketing. So I handle all of the marketing, the branding, lead generation, buying media, teaming up with people like Bill Walton, which is really fun as our solar evangelist. And it's a great gig. It's, I've always loved marketing something that makes a difference, and solar definitely does that.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming from somebody who's in marketing myself, marketing for something that makes a difference is so much easier and so much more fun in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, and something you can, you can be enthused about every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Like any industry, it's a wild, ride, as your question 2 I'll address here shortly.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. Can you tell us a little bit about the solar industry as a whole and where Stellar Solar fits into that?
Yeah. So there's a term within the industry called the solar coaster because it's just been such a wild ride. It's there's a lot of policy around solar because it's still a young industry. So depending on tax credits and incentives and things like that changing and expiring. The good thing is companies like Stellar see these changes coming and they pivot and make the moves necessary to not only survive but thrive. And 5 years ago there was 200 and maybe 300 plus solar providers in San Diego, and that's down a little bit now. But and now with new administration, things are on the uptick. But San Diego is always going to be a good place for some solar companies to be. It's just based on the climate. There's tax credits, rebates, net metering, where you get paid for your excess energy you produce. We'll talk about that in a little bit,
Mhm.
but you've got now these major companies, all the major auto companies are electrifying their cars and trucks.
Mhm.
Big corporations like Target and Walmart are putting solar on all of their facilities. So there's this momentum going now on a
Mhm.
national level that is carrying over where people, there's still only like 18% market penetration of solar in San Diego, which I
Oh,
thought was
wow.
crazy. I mean, there's
Yeah.
still huge room for growth.
Right.
You see a lot of it, but it's still relatively small. So,
Yeah.
the future looks bright. There are some hurdles that might be coming up, but again, we'll touch
Absolutely.
on that in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like you to talk to us a little bit about solar energy, how solar technology works. My mom currently has solar panels on her house. And, I hate to say it, but I don't know everything about it and how it all
Right.
works. So, how is it collected? Where is it stored? How is it used? Just kind of give us a little background on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to kind of give the basic high level overview. So
Hmm.
basically, solar panels, they absorb sunlight with photovoltaic cells that generates direct current. That's DC energy.
Hmm.
And then it's converted to usable energy, which is AC energy, alternating current, with the help of inverters that are either on the panels as microinverters or a string inverter in the garage or someplace like that.
Okay.
That energy then flows through the home's electrical panel and is distributed accordingly.
Okay.
With batteries, which I'm going to talk a little about here as well,
Hmm.
that energy can be stored, and that addresses the whole blackout thing that we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Right.
Right.
Right, absolutely. Um, so since it is Earth Month and this is our sustainability series, can you discuss the environmental effects of switching to solar? What are the benefits of using solar energy in comparison to, non-renewable sources of power?
Yeah, and that was the original when I started in this industry. That was the message. It
Hmm.
was kind of like a green thing for people that wanted to, be green and do good stuff for the environment, which it totally does.
Hmm.
It's clean, safe energy when compared to coal and the potential hazards of nuclear. And with the addition of battery storage, it can be a 24-hour power source when needed.
Right.
It is, by itself, it's connected to the grid. So if the
Hmm.
grid goes down, it's goes down as well, unless you have batteries. So again, we have a tagline now called "Electrify Your Life." And
Okay.
going back to what I was saying about all of these major companies producing electric vehicles, that's the future. And it's
Right.
coming sooner than later, where a
Yeah.
lot of us are going to have electric cars, and solar and batteries combined with electric cars. It's like the perfect trifecta.
Hmm.
And that's when we really reach a critical mass of all of this really making a difference on a big scale on the environment. So,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about how, solar panels work for a home or business and why a business should consider going solar. Obviously for the environmental effects, but I know that there's a lot of other reasons that a business should consider moving to solar energy.
right. Well, I mean, going back to that last answer, in the beginning, all of our marketing was about the greenness of
Mhm.
solar, and that still makes sense, and it's still something we say. But
Mhm.
it's one of the smartest financial moves a homeowner can make in
Mhm.
most cases, and same with a lot of businesses. We like to say that every homeowner in San Diego County should, at the very least, get a solar quote to see
Right.
what their savings is going to be and what their
Mhm.
return on investment.
Yeah.
Not all homes are suited for solar. Some may have a lot of shade, but that's
Right.
usually not the case in San Diego.
Right.
And the condition of their roofs, and there's a lot of variables. But for a high percentage of homeowners, it's going to make sense.
Right.
Um, Commercial solar makes sense in a lot of cases as well. It's a
Mhm.
better scenario if the business owner owns their building,
Okay.
and electricity is one of their major expenses. We also sell a lot of systems to schools, nonprofits, faith based organizations,
Okay. Mhm.
some big commercial clients like Salk Institute, US Navy, and Cedar Sinai Hospital have gone solar with us. So,
Okay.
again, it's just given where we live, we just ask people to let us show you the numbers. We've never been a high pressure
Right.
organization where a lot of these national groups that come in and are just like trying to sell systems, and they're putting people in positions that might not make sense for them to close a deal.
Right.
We're going to present the numbers. If it makes sense, do it. If not, we're gonna agree that, hey, this might not make sense for you. But
Right.
in most cases, it does.
Yeah, absolutely. I love both, saving money in my pocket and then also protecting the environment. I think that's a win-win in both
Yes.
situations.
Be green and save green. I think that was a campaign
Exactly.
we had at some point.
Exactly.
Right.
So Oceanside, is known for the dreaded June gloom. I hate it. I can't tan in June gloom weather.
Right. Right.
But will solar panels perform in cloudy weather? I know that's may seem like a stupid question, but I
No,
think
no, not
for
at all.
somebody
I
who
mean,
doesn't
it's
understand
an
solar,
obvious one. We don't get it a lot here because that is like the rarity, and what is there,
right?
350 days of sunshine or something crazy here? But yes,
Right.
it performs. It just at a lesser percentage,
Okay.
25 to 50%,
Okay.
and you're still getting performance. Germany is one of the biggest solar company or countries in the world, and
Yeah.
they've got kind of like a Midwest climate there, so
Right.
it,
Right.
it
Right.
definitely works. But it works better when the sun's out all the time.
Right,
So,
which
yeah.
is basically Southern California
Right,
as a
right.
whole. So another hot topic besides, the dreaded June gloom is rolling blackouts here in California. Do blackouts affect a business that is powered by solar electricity? How does that kind of work?
Well, like I said before, if
Mhm.
there's not battery backup involved, yes, because we're connected to the grid, and most people are connected to the grid, and the grid goes down, solar goes down. Battery, we represent Tesla Powerwalls and a couple other manufacturers and those that's a big part of our business right now because people realize that with battery backup connected to solar, you can store that energy, and depending how many batteries you have, that will get you through the backup. And with everybody
Right.
working from home now and all the energy,
Yeah.
going up like that,
Hmm.
bills going up, it makes a lot of sense for people. So
Right.
with the combination of battery backup and solar, that can get people through most of these blackouts.
Okay. Okay. So we've talked money a little bit here, and you've talked about, the numbers and how it is beneficial for businesses to switch to using solar energy. But is solar energy more expensive than conventional energy? And I know you said you had mentioned, rebates and incentives
Right.
available for solar energy use. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the basic energy is that solar energy is powered by the sun, which is free.
Mhm.
That said, it's not free to put solar on your house. But
Exactly.
customers are going to reduce or eliminate their electric bill significantly with the if the system's financed.
Hmm.
The payments can be less than their electric bill in most cases. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense to do it.
Right. Exactly.
And with the low cost of panels now, I mean, there's this trifecta happening of low cost panels, almost free money with like 1% financing
Hmm.
and the 26% tax credit. So the ROI on that in most cases, depending, and I have to say this every time, every situation is different. Every home is
Right.
different on the ROI, but 4 to 7 years on a system paying for itself is kind of a ballpark right now.
Okay. So we've talked numbers and such, and you've given us a little bit more detail about that. Can you discuss rebates and incentives available for solar energy usage?
Yes, a big one is the 26% tax credit, and that's been extended to 2024. Net metering 2.0 is still in place, and that's where homeowners get paid for the excess energy they produce. However, there's something called net metering 3.0, which we don't know. That's the Public Utilities Commission is voting on that. That's a big thing right now. So we don't know what net metering is going to look like as early as the end of the year, early next year. So we're advising people to do it as quickly as they can because they'll be grandfathered in. Um, it's we don't know which direction this has happened before in the
Hmm.
industry. It's still going to make sense in a lot of cases, but it could get to a point where it doesn't make a lot of as much sense for some people based on that new net metering.
Okay.
Mhm.
And what would someone's electricity bill look like after the installation of solar panels?
Yeah, it depends on their original bill and the size of the system and what that system offsets. Every situation's different. When somebody asks me how much solar costs, I'm like, we got to see your bill first. We got to look at your roof. look at your usage, what are you trying to do? You're going to add electric vehicles. So, you know, get a site evaluation and, I'll be able to answer that question a little more thoroughly.
Right, absolutely.
Right.
Now that we've discussed those numbers and, it is a little costly to put solar panels onto your house and you've discussed all of that, is there maintenance that's required and what is the typical lifespan?
There's not much maintenance. If it gets dusty, if they get dusty, it's good to have them washed off. It'll increase the performance.
Okay.
Most panels have a 25-year warranty. And there's solar panels out there that are performing at a high level that have been installed for 30 years.
Okay.
So, they're pretty much plug and play.
Great. Okay. Yeah, that's great to know. And clearly it shows that this is both environmentally friendly and, friendly to your wallet, as we discussed.
Right.
What does the future of solar energy look like here in Oceanside, San Diego County, or even California with all of, everything switching to solar energy?
Well, I mean, it's always been the future's always looked bright here, especially with like I mentioned, the market penetration being so low. There's a lot of people that haven't gone solar, and as national programs are put in place like they are now, that just raises the awareness.
Right.
People see more and more electric vehicles. They see all the major automakers coming out and pledging to be big percentages of their fleets electric in very short periods of times. And then they, go to the places they shop and see all these solar panels everywhere. So it's a bright future that way. Again, the new net metering rules, we'll have to see what that does. But again, in Southern California, it's always going to make sense in some capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving us this in-depth analysis of solar energy. If anybody wants to get in contact with you or wants to learn a little bit about their solar options, how do they get in contact with you to see if they can start that energy journey?
Yeah, I would just start on our website, stellarsolar.net. We do a lot of marketing out there with we call him our solar evangelist, Bill Walton, who's a San Diego native and former NBA guy he's not like some typical jock who we hired to be a spokesperson. He's had solar for like 15 years. He drives electric cars and he's the perfect guy to be out there as our ambassador. Or evangelist, as we call him, our solar evangelist. But yeah, start on our website. We got a great team of people. I wouldn't be marketing this company if I wouldn't feel comfortable with any one of the people that work for us giving a virtual presentation like we're doing right now, and just presenting the numbers and not the high pressure pitch. It's more of an educational thing.
Absolutely. Yes. I love that. And one final question for you, how we're going to start wrapping up all of our Advancing Oceanside podcasts. But how are you advancing Oceanside, or what does it mean to you to advance Oceanside?
Well, first of all, we love working there. It's just we're in that kind of light industrial area across the 76 from the airport. And, I go out for several walks a day. And every time I go out, I see skydivers falling from the sky, which is... It's just I never get sick of it. And we've got such an eclectic mix of businesses surrounding us, from a Tesla repair shop to surfboard shapers and breweries and, cool restaurants. It's just such a great eclectic place I love going to Fraser Farms for lunch. I have a side gig called Lick the Plate that I'm on Oceanside all the time, writing and having, chefs and restaurant owners on my show. It's a great place to work. A lot of our employees live there. Our facility is, we've got a great outdoor area. Actually, before the pandemic, we were scheduled to have a big Oceanside mixer there. And we still plan on doing that. We bring people there all the time from different parts of San Diego. They're always impressed by the facility. And, we're big backers of the area, from both a business and, culinary and everything else perspective. So we love it there.
Absolutely. And us at the Oceanside Chamber love it just as much. So thank you so much for, joining us today and giving us this in-depth analysis of the solar industry. I appreciate everything you are doing. And we are happy to have a mixer with you guys again. Just let us know and we can get everybody out.
Yeah, let's, I don't know when that's going to happen, but we're ready. we've got everything in place.
Yes.
Still from last year because it was supposed to happen like right when this hit.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, I remember.
yeah, no, it's we'll make it a good one for you.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. It's clear that you're passionate about, the solar industry and getting all businesses and homeowners on the right plan, on the right track. So thank you again so much, David, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Advancing Oceanside podcast, brought to you by the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. Continue with us on our journey to help inform, better educate, and ultimately advocate for Oceanside. You can view all of our other podcasts on any podcast listening locations, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or visit our YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to catch all the latest updates on all things Oceanside. Join us next week as we host another influential leader from our community.